Why do people prefer iPhone than Samsung? Most people who buy iPhones do so because of the well-integrated Apple ecosystem and the seamless user experience. iPhones handle core functionalities like calling, video recording, system navigation, and web browsing more reliably. Which is the #1 phone in world? Apple iPhone 13 Pro Max. Last year, in 2021, Apple launched their iPhone 13 series of devices worldwide. The Apple iPhone 13 Pro Max is the top-of-the-line device in the segment. The best part about this smartphone is that it comes with similar specs to the Apple iPhone 14 Pro models. What will I miss switching from Android to iPhone? If you want to switch to an iPhone, there are a few things that might really annoy you about switching from Android to iOS. Notification management is annoying. Close. Google Apps aren't as intuitive on iOS. Close. Layout customization is limited on iOS. Shopping on iOS is a pain. No screen mirroring Netflix. What can an iPhone do that a Samsung can't? Torn between an iPhone or Android device? Here are the best iOS features that you still can't get on Android. Here, we'll take a look at the best iOS features that Android devices still don't have. AirPlay, FaceTime, drag and drop, offloading apps, battery health check, iCloud Plus privacy features. Is an iPhone really better than an Android? The iPhones have a series of processors that reportedly deliver better performance than most Android phones. In addition, Apple blends hardware and software well, making the iPhone more efficient and effective. Why iPhone over Samsung? If you are looking for a phone that is easy to use, has a good camera, and lasts a long time on a charge, an iPhone may be the right choice for you. If you are looking for more customization options and features with your smartphone, or want a bigger screen, then a Samsung smartphone may be better suited for you. Are people with iPhones more attractive? According to the study, owners of Apple's iPhone, Apple Watch and AirPods who had those devices in their dating profiles were up to 76% more attractive than users of others' devices or those who had no tech displayed. Which gender uses iPhone more? According to the result of a recent survey conducted by the Mobile Ecosystem Forum, 51% of Apple smartphone users in 2019 were female. Apple was the only vendor appearing in the survey for which a majority of respondents identified as female. Is iPhone for the rich? But findings from two University of Chicago economists who produced the National Bureau of Economic Research working paper suggest that the iPhone is the #1 way to guess if someone is rich. Accordingly, 69.1% of respondents with an iPhone were defined as being in the top quartile of households by income. Is it better to buy iPhone or Samsung? Should you get a Samsung phone or an Apple iPhone? The iPhone is arguably faster, boasts a more elegant look than most Samsung phones, and takes better quality photos. Also, if you own other iOS devices, an iPhone would integrate well into your ecosystem. Which is easier to use, iPhone or Android? Of all the phones available, iPhone, which runs Apple's iOS operating system, is the easiest to use. If you're not very tech-savvy, look here first. Everything is designed to work together well, since Apple creates both the software and hardware, Ackerman says. Has anyone switched from iPhone to Samsung? After finding a good deal, I traded in my 2-year-old iPhone 11 Pro for Samsung Electronics Company's Galaxy S21 Ultra, which was initially released in January and runs Alphabet Incorporated's Google Android operating system. Despite opting for a dated handset over Apple's next new thing, I'm happy I made the switch. What are the disadvantages of iPhones? Disadvantages: same icons with same look on home screen even after upgrades. Too simple and doesn't support computer work as in other OS. No widget support for iOS apps that are also costly. Limited device use as platform runs only on Apple devices. doesn't provide NFC and radio is not inbuilt. Why iPhone is so costly? An obvious reason for the higher prices comes down to the manufacturing. Most iPhones are usually imported as completely built units from China and other markets, and that attracts taxes as well as import duties. Why Apple over Android? Software and hardware integration. Apple's iOS is a closed ecosystem, which means that Apple manufactures both operating systems and hardware, and no other company uses either of them to integrate with their services. It gives Apple an edge over Android to provide a better synchronization between hardware and software. Do iPhones last longer than Samsung? When it comes to the lifespan of a phone, Apple has always been the clear winner. And by lifespan, I'm talking about software and security updates. Is iPhone beating Samsung? iPhone 13 on top as Apple beat Samsung when it comes to phone brand switchers. Users prefer Apple more than Samsung when switching from one smartphone to another, new data revealed. The iPhone 13 also emerged as the top-selling phones. Is iPhone safer than Samsung? Android devices, then, are more at risk of the malware and viruses that these criminals unleash. Security. While iOS may be considered more secure, it's not impossible for cybercriminals to hit iPhones or iPads with malicious software. Is it a pain to switch from Android to iPhone? Apple and Google make the transfer process fairly straightforward and painless. All you'll need is a Wi-Fi network and access to both phones and access to the Google Play Store on your Android device. Before switching, it is important to note that you need to update all apps and back up the data on your Android phone. What are the disadvantages of iPhone over Android? These include the fact that on average, the iPhone has a lower quality of battery life than Android. Another con of getting an iPhone is the low storage due to the absence of a micro SD card. iPhones are also pretty expensive and not customizable. Which phone is more user-friendly, iPhone or Android? iOS is more user-friendly. But quality of user experience is hard to quantify. A better way of approaching the idea might be to think about the respective design processes and philosophies behind iOS and Android. What will I miss switching from Android to iPhone 2022? One major concern while switching from any smartphone is data that is already stored in the older device. This includes contacts, media files, documents, and app data. Thankfully, Apple allows users to move almost all the data, including email accounts, app data, and multimedia files from Android to iPhone.